everyone, welcome back to a new video. So this is the start of another new week in our reselling business journey. So if you're new here, me and my fiance James run a clothing resale business. We currently sell a lot of vintage clothing and we're looking to be moving into luxury pieces pretty soon. So we're just about to send off an order just now and we're actually heading out down to pick up some food down at Portobello Beach. So we're based in Edinburgh, so we're heading down there just now. So it's a really nice sunny day, so I thought we'd take you along, and we're also planning on doing a live stream, like selling session later on today on quite a new platform called Tilt. So we thought we could just take you along on what we got up to this week with our business and yeah, just share how we got on. So this is actually the piece that we're selling, that we're sending off just now. So these are actually a pair of Carhartt sort of workwear style trousers. It's a little bit dull here, maybe can't see, maybe pop the light on so you can see a bit better. Oh, doesn't make too much difference. Yeah, so a pair of like kind of neutral coloured Carhartt trousers, vintage Carhartt. As I said, a lot of the pieces that we sell just now are vintage. So as you can see here, I've got the label in the back pocket. So we're just about to package and send these off, and then we're going to head down to Portobello Beach in the next few minutes. So one of the things that I wanted to share in this week's video was actually how we went about starting our reselling business. So we knew that we obviously had to figure out, you know, first of all, what types of things we were going to be selling, where we were going to get those things from, those items from, and where we were going to be selling these things. So for the where we were going to be selling these things, we decided to go down, first of all, the route of Vinted. That is actually the first platform that we decided to sell things on. We very quickly decided that we wanted to have our own website as well, because we felt that in the future that is something that we definitely wanted to work towards, and we thought it'd be a good idea just to kind of start, you know, with it as well. And also I feel like if you have your own website and your own domain and things, it kind of gives your brand a bit more of like authority, like people, you know, feel like you're trustworthy. So that was another reason why we decided to also start our website, our own Shopify website as well. So those are the two platforms that we kind of started out with, Vinted and our own website on Shopify. We then decided to try out eBay and Etsy. So after trying out these two platforms, we kind of quickly decided that they weren't quite for us. So again, we can talk about, you know, what we've thought about the different platforms that we've tried out maybe in a future video, if that's something that you'd be interested in. So we did try both of them out, never managed to sell anything on eBay, got a few sales on Etsy. We then decided to start using Depop, and we've had some success with that as well. So those are the platforms we mainly use, is Vinted and Depop. So as I said, we kind of started out on Vinted first, and then what we did is we actually initially, before we started sourcing new, like, you know, items that didn't belong to us, like from different places, and again I'll speak about where we got our items in a little second, we actually decided to sell our own things on Vinted. And so we went through our wardrobes, you know, we got rid of, you know, things that we didn't want anymore and decided to sell them on Vinted. And the reason we did that is we felt like it would build up our good reviews, our customers, you know, get some, you know, good sales under our belt, and just kind of get used to using the platform and things as well. And that seemed to work really well. So there was nothing in it for us to lose, if you know what I mean. It was things that we didn't want anyway. So that's kind of what we did first, was sell our unwanted items. So obviously then we decided that we wanted to start selling, you know, new, and when I say new, because obviously it is vintage pieces we sell, so they're not new, but new to us, new items to us. So we actually kind of went about this in a bit of a different way. So initially we did look at using different vintage wholesale companies. So there's loads of them online. We did a lot of research and they all looked really good actually. Like there was ones that you had to buy, there was like different types of bundles you could buy. You could buy bundles of like jeans, of vintage Levi jackets, of vintage Carhartt. There were so many different options, and a lot of the ones that we looked at all had really good reviews and things. So that's definitely a route that you could take if you're looking to get some vintage clothing stock. However, we didn't end up doing like any of those. So what we did is we had two different places we got some vintage stock from. So James had actually been going on to Tilt, which is one of the places we sell things just now, and just to kind of sort of get a feel for it, and just I think he was just kind of going on to look for different pieces of clothing and things, and he actually came across a seller who was trying to get rid of a vintage. They had a vintage bundle, so we contacted them and ended up buying our first sort of box of like a big wholesale vintage clothing bundle. So that's where we got sort of our first lot of stock from. And then we actually got some more stock from somebody. So James, when he was out working, so he's a musician, so he was doing a gig one evening and got talking to this a person that was in the venue where he was doing his gig, and it turned out that they were a vintage wholesaler as well. So once they got talking to him, we actually bought a bundle of vintage clothing from him as well. So that's kind of where we've gotten a big chunk of our stock from. Another thing that we kind of did as well is we had a little look around some charity shops, managed to get a few good finds in there as well. Only thing with charity shops especially, I don't know if it's just an Edinburgh thing, because that's obviously where we live, but I think gone are the days where you could go into a charity shop and get something like really, really inexpensive that's actually really good. I feel like nowadays a lot of the charity shops, they know what the good brands are, they know what the good, sort of quality pieces are, and they price them accordingly. So definitely a lot of the charity shops around here, like in different areas like Stockbridge, Leith Walk and places like that, even like up near, I think we went to a few, maybe I want to say Morningside as well. So they're all quite nice areas in the city, and I think a lot of the time the stock that's going in there is going to be nice pieces, and the people that are pricing it, they know obviously that the brands are good, so they're not going to price them below what they're worth. So you're maybe not getting as good a deal if you go into charity shops in those kind of areas. However, we have come across some little charity shops that are kind of just on their own in like other areas of Edinburgh, and sometimes you will find some really good pieces in there. Like we did manage to find like a Ralph Lauren, like a really good Ralph Lauren thick knit jumper, and I think they were selling it for like £5 or something. So obviously we managed to get that. It was perfect condition, it looked brand new, and obviously we managed to sell that for a profit. So that was great. So yeah, so charity shops is another route you could go down, but obviously the reason we're not doing that so much is because it's quite time consuming. Obviously you need to take time out your day to go to charity shops, to visit them. You need to know what you're looking for as well, and obviously think about the price, look at the size and all that kind of stuff. So obviously it's quite fun, and we're always on the lookout when we do go into charity shops if there is some good finds and things, but it's not a way that we would go and get stock really anymore. Another way that we did get a few nice pieces was actually on Vinted. So sometimes if you're really, you can actually search some Vinted listings, and if people are just wanting rid of things, they will sell them kind of below maybe what they're really worth, and you can sometimes get a good find on Vinted. But again, a lot of people, they know, or they do their research before they sell the pieces, and obviously it's time consuming as well. So you're having to obviously search for the item, you have to wait on delivery when it gets here, obviously if it's even in the same condition as what it's been described as. We've never had any issues with that, but I know some people do on Vinted. It's maybe they get items that aren't quite as described. So there's all those kind of things you need to think about as well. Obviously if you're in a charity shop, you can check before you buy it. So yeah, you could go down that route as well. One of the things that I did used to do, which I bought a lot of things from Vinted for, was because we tie-dye denim jackets. And when I'm looking for jackets to tie-dye, I'm looking for white vintage denim jackets, so it's very specific. I've never been able to find one in a charity shop, which is a bit of a shame. However, I have been able to find, I can just search for them obviously on Vinted. So I'm obviously buying a denim jacket, vintage denim jacket on Vinted. I've managed to find a few Levi's ones, which is great. And obviously, because I'm dyeing it, it doesn't really matter if there's like little scuffs and things on it, because the dye will obviously cover the marks. So that's one thing that I found, if you are looking for pieces maybe to customise, then Vinted and Depop, because you can actually search what you're looking for, is a good way to go, but it just depends on what you're doing. So yeah, so right now I would probably say that we're probably going down more the wholesale route, and mainly because we want to have volume, we want to have enough pieces, we want it to be quick as well. But I'm glad that we've tried out all the different ways of getting stock in quite a short period of time, and obviously we found what works for us. So that's kind of how we went about setting up and starting our business. Obviously we just needed to make sure we had things to sell and a place to sell them, and once we got started there, obviously relatively low startup cost, like with getting going with selling our own things, and then obviously you can put into stock what we you can afford. Another thing that we did set up was a business bank account, so that's something that James sorted out. So obviously all our business expenses run through the one bank account, which just makes things so much easier, especially when you're looking at tax and things like that, so that there's no personal expenses getting mixed in. So that was another thing that we set up. Again, free, you can set that up for free, really easy. So that's kind of what we did to kind of initially get started. Obviously recently we've kind of started going in a different direction from our vintage selling, which is looking more at the luxury items. So when we do sort of make that kind of pivot, we are probably going to be looking more at using a wholesaler and things, because obviously if you can buy things in bulk, you can get them for cheaper than if you're buying things individually. So that is something that we will be kind of changing. Another part of our business that we have started to explore is the more sort of sourcing side of it. So if we do have access to different suppliers for different items, luxury items, and a lot of the time these could be pre-owned, they could be brand new, and a few vintage things as well. And that part of our business though, we're still trying to find our feet with. So obviously when it comes to selling luxury items, obviously the price tag is going to be higher, and we found that there needs to be that level obviously of trust between you and your potential customer before they're willing to spend that amount of money with you. So we've actually had quite a good result where we sold a sort of higher ticket item for us through, I can't remember if it was Vinted or Depop, one of the platforms. And then they found out, because we've been sticking our business cards in with our packages, that we obviously offer the sourcing service as well. And then they've expressed interest in sourcing something else. It's actually a brand new item. So that's kind of the route that I'm kind of hoping that we can go down, is that once we make a sale to people who are looking for these luxury items, they will then hopefully then trust us to then try and source them something, or they can maybe buy something from us that's a little bit more expensive, and then just kind of build this trust between us that way. But so that's kind of where we are just now. So that's us come to the end of another week. Unfortunately, we haven't managed to do any sessions on Tilt this week. We've been quite busy with stuff to do with the flat. So the flat that we're in just now, we're actually in the middle of decorating it and updating it and things like that. So we have actually been looking at getting our kitchen done this week. So we've been kind of going to different appointments and things like that to try and sort that out. So that's kind of why we've not really been able to do sessions on Tilt. Just run out of time really. So hopefully we'll get back onto that next week. We have been doing just little things like updating things, listings on Vinted and things like that, sending out a couple of orders that we got. So so that's a good thing about our business, is that when things do crop up, we can sort of allocate our time differently. But apart from that, I think we'll wrap up this video here. So so I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found bits of what we're sharing useful, and if you did enjoy it and find it useful, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when we release a new video, and we will see you in our next one. So bye just now.